Well, today, at a time when we all need a lesson in hope, we got such a lesson that was once unimaginable, once unthinkable. To keep hope alive, we need lessons in hope. If you are hoping that American democracy can survive and defeat the forces in this country who are trying to kill it, you need to do everything you can to support democracy, and you need hope. If you are hoping that the rule of law will prevail in this country and that the ideal that no one is above the law, including presidents and former presidents of the United States, then today was a good day for you. The criminal prosecution of a former president of the United States used to be unthinkable, but it was always easier to imagine than what we saw today. What happened today proves that there should be no limit on hope. We should always allow ourselves to hope for the best and then hope for even more. That was today's lesson. They called it the American War. We called it the Vietnam War. The most powerful military in the world, the military that won World War II, went to Vietnam in the 1960s to tell the Vietnamese people how to live. We did that at the point of a gun. We tried to teach the Vietnamese people how to live with bombs. We dropped 7.5 million tons of bombs on a country the size of New Mexico that never threatened the United States. On that tiny country, we dropped double the tonnage of bombs that we dropped on Germany and Japan in World War II. The American War killed at least 1.2 million Vietnamese people, while 58,220 Americans were killed in Vietnam, many of them drafted into military service against their will. Early in the war, the United States participated in the assassination of our ally, the president of South Vietnam, in order to put a more agreeable president in that position. The worst atrocity in the history of the American military was committed in Vietnam when Lieutenant William Calley murdered hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese men, women, and children at My Lai in what became known worldwide as the My Lai Massacre. Everything the United States did in Vietnam was for nothing. Vietnam won the American War, and the American military retreated in defeat, ultimately fleeing in chaos on the last day that Americans escaped from Vietnam. On April 30th, 1975, when that last American helicopter left Vietnam, what the President of the United States said today in New York City was unthinkable.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, my fellow leaders, about a week ago, I stood on the other side of the world, in Vietnam, on soil once bloody with war. And I met a small group of veterans, Americans and Vietnamese, who witnessed, and I watched the exchange of personal artifacts from that war, identification cards and a diary. It was deeply moving to see the reaction of the Vietnamese and American soldiers. Culmination of 50 years of hard work on both sides to address the painful legacies of war and to choose to work together toward peace and a better future. Nothing about that journey was inevitable. For decades, it would have been unthinkable for an American president to stand in Hanoi alongside a Vietnamese leader and announce a mutual commitment to the highest level of country's partnership. But it's a powerful reminder that our history need not dictate our future. With the concerted leadership and careful effort, adversaries can become partners. Overwhelming challenges can be resolved, and deep wounds can heal. So let us never forget that. When we choose to stand together and recognize the common hopes that bind all humanity, we hold our hands the power in that power to bend that arc of history.
If that can happen, then no one has the right to give up hope for what is possible in this country and the world. The Prime Minister of Vietnam sat in the United Nations General Assembly today, listening respectfully to the President of the United States describe their new partnership, describe what was unthinkable as our new reality. So whatever you're hoping for in the future of this country, whatever you're hoping for in the next election and the election after that, and whatever you're hoping for in the continued rule of law in the United States is much, much more possible, much more likely than the miracle of the reconciliation of the United States of America and Vietnam. It is hard to find stronger lessons for hope in human history than what we saw today at the United Nations. Today, the United States of America stands with the smaller country invaded by the much larger nuclear-powered aggressor.
Russia's price for peace is Ukraine's capitulation, Ukraine's territory, and Ukraine's children. Russia believes that the world will grow weary and allow it to brutalize Ukraine without consequence. But I ask you this: if we abandon the core principles of the United States to appease an aggressor, can any member state in this body feel confident that they are protected? If we allow Ukraine to be carved up, is the independence of any nation secure? I'd respectfully suggest the answer is no. We have to stand up to this naked aggression today and deter other would-be aggressors tomorrow. That's why the United States, together with our allies and partners around the world, will continue to stand with the brave people of Ukraine as they defend their sovereignty and territorial integrity and their freedom.
The President told the United Nations today that the world is at an inflection point in history. Everyone listening knew that the United States of America, facing the greatest threat to democracy since the Civil War, is also at an inflection point in history.
At this inflection point in history, we're going to be judged by whether or not we live up to the promises we made to ourselves, to each other, to the most vulnerable, and to all those who will inherit the world we create, because that's what we're doing. Will we find within ourselves the courage to do what must be done, to preserve the planet, to protect human dignity, to provide opportunity for people everywhere, and to defend the tenets of the United Nations? There can only be one answer to that question. We must, and we will. The road ahead is long and difficult, but if we persevere and prevail, if we keep the faith in ourselves and show what's possible, let's do this work together. Let's deliver progress for everyone. Let's bend the arc of history for the good of the world, because it's in our power to do it. Thank you for listening. You're kind.